When I came home from deployment, my 6-year-old screamed, "You're alive." My wife froze on the porch like she'd seen a ghost, because she had. She'd buried an empty casket, moved another man into my bed, and spent every dollar meant for my death. I stood there in uniform, duffel bag still hanging off my shoulder. The air felt heavier than the gear I'd carried through war. "Ursula," I said softly, "why would you—" But she stumbled backward, hand gripping the doorframe. Tommy ran out, wrapped himself around my legs. "You're alive! Mommy said you died." His voice cracked on the last word. Everything tilted. I looked at Ursula for an explanation. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out, just tears. Inside the house, the smell hit me first. Candle wax and men's cologne that wasn't mine. I followed it upstairs. Our bedroom door was half closed. Something in me already knew. I pushed it open. There was a man in my bed. He froze. I froze. Ursula's voice came from behind me, shaky. "Mark, please. This isn't what it looks like." "It looks exactly like what it is," I said. The man stood, hands up. "Wait, you're alive?" "Last I checked," he turned to her. "You told me he was dead." "I saw the obituary," he said again, disbelief twisting his face. "I went to the funeral," Ursula crumbled. Her knees gave out on the carpet. Tommy's footsteps thudded on the stairs. "Daddy?" "Go to your room, buddy," I said quietly. He didn't move. He just stared, confused, scared. The other man rubbed his temples. "My name's Steven," he said. "She told me she needed help after you died. How long?" 8 months? My stomach dropped. He looked at Ursula. "You said the insurance wouldn't cover Tommy's therapy. I paid cash, $6,000. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through receipts. I glanced at her hand. Different ring. "Not mine," Steven noticed. "She told me we'd get married after enough time passed." My voice went flat. "You made our son believe his dad was dead." "You made him mourn me." Ursula covered her face. "I was going to fix it," she whispered. "How do you fix a fake funeral?" I asked. Steven backed toward the hall, pale. He whispered, "You declared him dead?" She nodded. I opened my banking app, declined. Everything frozen. I had $3,000 in cash from the base and nothing else. Steven's voice sharpened. "Where's the insurance money, Ursula?" She didn't answer. He shouted, 400 grand! "You said it was in a trust." Her silence told the truth. I checked the account myself. Dozens of withdrawals, all from the casino downtown. "She has a gambling problem," I said quietly. Steven looked sick. Ursula started sobbing. Steven turned on her. "You said you were paying debts." "I quit my job for this." I stared at the wall. Every word was just noise now. Then Tommy appeared again, eyes wide. "Why are you yelling?" Ursula reached for him. He stepped back. "Mommy, why did you say Daddy was gone?" Her face collapsed. Before she could answer, Steven's phone lit up. He was already calling 911. "Military insurance fraud," he said to the operator. "Service member identity fraud." "We need police." Ursula grabbed her purse. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Not my problem," I said. She moved toward the kitchen. Her eyes were wild. When her hand closed around the butcher knife, everything stopped. Steven pushed Tommy behind me. "Ursula, don't," I said. She waved the knife like it was the only thing keeping her alive. I dialed 911 myself, gave the address. When she heard me say the street number, she dropped the knife. Metal clattered on tile. She bolted out the door. 5 minutes later, red and blue lights painted the windows. Officers came in calm but firm. They took our statements, bagged the knife, wrote everything down. A female officer looked at me gently. "You're getting a protective order tonight." Tommy wouldn't let go of my hand. He kept whispering, "Is Mommy bad now?" I said, "Mommy's sick. She needs help." He didn't answer. That night, we ate dinner on the couch. Cartoons on low volume. Tommy fell asleep clutching my arm. I stayed awake, checking locks until dawn. Morning brought bureaucracy. Banks, military admin, insurance calls. Every voice on the other end asked for proof I was alive. Each question felt like a second funeral. Steven showed up with coffee and a laptop. "We'll document everything," he said. We sat at the table like two accountants of betrayal. He had receipts, emails, screenshots. Therapy payments, rent transfers, ATM withdrawals. Ursula's lies laid out in spreadsheets. Later, her father arrived with a woman named Marilyn, a forensic accountant. He hugged me, whispered, "I'm sorry, son." Marilyn spread papers everywhere. Every cash withdrawal linked to the same casino. Every signature forged. When the school called, my blood ran cold. Ursula had tried to sign Tommy out. The principal saw something off, called police. They arrested her in the lobby. That night, Detective Sutton knocked. Gray hair, steady eyes. "Name's Earl," he said. "Military fraud's my jurisdiction." He listened to everything, taking notes in a small pad. When I showed him the casino footage, his jaw clenched. "She's going federal," he said. "I'll make sure of it." The next morning, the JAG office confirmed what he'd said. They'd start emergency correction forms. "Your status still says deceased," the clerk told me. I stared at the word deceased on her screen. "That's my name," I said. "That's me," she nodded. "We'll fix it." Weeks passed in a blur of calls and paperwork. Every document another scar. Every correction another breath. Stephen stayed. He helped Tommy with homework, cooked dinner when I couldn't. I should have hated him, but I didn't. He'd been conned, too. We were both ghosts in Ursula's story. One afternoon, Marilyn called. "The death certificate was notarized at a check cashing store," she said. "Fake signature. Fake officer. I've sent everything to Sutton. The funeral home confirmed the rest. $8,000 cash, empty casket, printed programs with my photo. Closure for a death that never happened." Everywhere I turned, my wife's handwriting haunted me. At the DMV, they told me I was still dead. At the bank, they said my account was frozen, pending verification of resurrection. The clerk actually laughed. I didn't. Then the insurance investigator, Zachariah Collier, called. He said they'd found fake forms, forged approvals, fast-tracked claims. "Someone on our end skipped protocol," he admitted. "We'll pursue restitution." Stephen listened quietly while I hung up. He said, "She fooled everyone, didn't she?" I nodded. "Even me." Days turned into routines again, lawyers, therapy, police. But each night Tommy cried less. Each morning he smiled more. Then one evening, headlights stopped outside. A man in a leather jacket knocked. "Ursula owes 30 grand, he said. "She better pay up." Stephen stepped beside me. "She doesn't live here." The man smiled. "Then you pay." He left slowly, memorizing the house with his eyes. I called Sutton. He arrived the next morning with a security rep. Cameras, locks, floodlights. "Loan sharks," Sutton said. "We'll handle it." Sleep came in fragments after that. Tommy's nightmares got worse. Coffins, dark boxes, silence. The therapist said trauma doesn't vanish, it just changes shape. Then, one small miracle. The court granted me temporary custody. Catherine handed me the order. "You're his guardian now." "Sole authority?" The paper felt heavier than any medal I'd ever earned. Ursula's public defender called. "She'll plead guilty if you support probation." I hung up. I wasn't ready for mercy. Weeks later, I found our wedding ring in a pawn shop window. Same engraving inside, Forever 2015. Price tag, what owed $200. I bought it back and never wore it again. The grand jury came next. 23 strangers listening as I told them how my wife declared me dead while I was fighting for my life. When it was over, the prosecutor said, "We've got enough. She'll be indicted." That night, Tommy drew a picture. 3 stick figures. He labeled them Dad, me, and Steve. I stared at it a long time. Maybe families could be rebuilt after all. The indictment came fast. 14 counts: fraud, forgery, identity theft, theft of government property. The list didn't sound real until the prosecutor read my name out loud as the victim. I sat there in uniform. Hands steady, heart not. Ursula looked smaller this time. Her eyes found mine for half a second, then dropped to the table. No tears left. Just hollow. The judge denied bail. The gavel hit. 5 minutes and she was gone again. Outside the courthouse, the wind smelled like rain. Stephen was waiting near the car, coffee in hand. "You did good," he said quietly. "I just told the truth." That night, Tommy built Lego towers and told me he dreamed of dragons, not coffins. That felt like progress. Days blurred. Therapy. Work. Court updates. Every time the phone rang, my chest tightened. Every unknown number was another ghost trying to crawl back. Then one morning, Catherine called. "Custody hearing next week," she said. "Bring everything." I packed a folder thick with evidence. Fake death certificate, casino withdrawals, therapy notes, photos. The courtroom smelled like paper and nerves. The judge was older, gray hair, steady eyes. When she saw the uniform, her voice softened. She asked Ursula one question. "Did you tell your son his father was dead?" Ursula nodded once. The judge exhaled through her nose. "Temporary sole custody awarded to Mr. Carter. Supervised visitation only." Gavel. Silence. Done. Outside, the sun was too bright. Catherine smiled. "You did it. I didn't feel like I'd won. Just survived." That night, Tommy slept through till morning for the first time in months. I stayed awake listening to the quiet. It felt fragile. Weeks passed. Stephen found a job at a local firm. Still came by every Wednesday. Tommy called it Steve Day. They'd toss a ball in the yard, laughter echoing against the fence. I'd watch from the porch, half proud, half haunted. Then came the plea offer. 5 years. Parole eligibility in 2. Restitution for everything. The prosecutor called to ask what I wanted. "I just want peace," I said. A week later, the judge accepted the plea. 5 years. Restitution ordered. Case closed. When I told Tommy, he nodded.
Will Mommy get better there?
"I hope so," I said. He seemed satisfied. The next morning, an envelope arrived. First restitution payment. $53 and change. I laughed once, quietly. It was nothing, but it meant the story was real enough to be on paper. Life started to rebuild itself in small ways. I went back to base full-time. Stephen helped Tommy with homework. We stopped being headlines and became people again. One afternoon, I found Tommy outside drawing with chalk. He'd written "safe now" across the driveway in big letters. I stood there staring until the wind blew chalk dust across my boots. By summer, the nightmares were almost gone. He played soccer, made friends, laughed, sounded like a kid again. I bought us a small house near the base. Single floor, big yard. No memories of her. We moved in on a Saturday. Stephen helped carry boxes. Tommy ran through the empty rooms shouting his echo. It was the first time the sound of shouting didn't make me flinch. We hung Tommy's drawings on the walls instead of family photos. No ghosts here, just crayons and color. Work got busier, normal, predictable, exactly what I needed. One evening, while we grilled burgers in the backyard, Tommy asked, "Can Uncle Steve stay forever?" Stephen froze, spatula in hand. I said, "He's got his own place, buddy, but he's always part of the team." Tommy grinned. "That's okay. Teams win together." Later that night, when the kid was asleep, Stephen looked at me. "You ever think about forgiving her?" I thought about the empty casket, the fake death certificate, Tommy crying over a grave that wasn't mine. "No," I said. "Forgiveness is optional. Protecting my kid isn't." He nodded. "Fair." Weeks turned to months. The restitution letters kept coming, each one a reminder that the past still had teeth. I filed them in a drawer labeled "Later." Then one morning a letter arrived from Ursula's mother. We'd never spoken. She wrote that she was sorry, that her daughter had been lying and stealing since college, that she hoped Tommy would never know that version of her. At the bottom she wrote, "You did the right thing." I folded it carefully and put it with Tommy's birth certificate. Fall crept in. Leaves piled against the porch. Tommy raked them into a heap and jumped in, laughing. Stephen filmed him on his phone. For once, I didn't care who was watching. Thanksgiving was small. Just the 3 of us. Tommy said grace. "Thank you for Daddy, for Uncle Steve, and for no more bad dreams." I couldn't speak for a minute. Just nodded. Winter came quiet. Snow dusted the fence. We built a tiny snowman with bottle cap eyes. Tommy called it Sergeant Frost. He saluted it every morning before school. The parole officer called around Christmas. Routine update. No violations. She was taking classes in prison, working laundry duty. "Do you want updates?" he asked. "Only if she escapes," I said. He laughed. Fair enough. The new year came with fireworks. Tommy covered his ears, grinning. "Not the bad kind, right?" "No," I said. "These ones mean the year's over." He whispered, "Good." By February, life had a rhythm again. Work, school, soccer on Saturdays. Homework and cartoons, peace in small pieces. One afternoon, Catherine called. "The military officially reinstated everything," she said. "Your record's clean." I thanked her. She said, "You sound lighter." "Guess I am." I took Tommy to the beach that weekend. He ran along the shore, chasing waves. I watched him and thought about how far we'd come from that porch. No ghosts. Just wind and sea and second chances. When we got home, the mailbox was full. More restitution forms. Another $53? I didn't even open it. Some debts can't be repaid with money. A week later, Detective Sutton called. He was retiring. "I wanted to check on you one last time," he said. "How's the kid?" "He's good. And you?" "Still here," I said. He laughed. "Stay that way." That night, after Tommy went to bed, I pulled out an old photo, me and Martinez, my buddy who took the bullet meant for me. I wrote him a letter, told him everything. The lie, the fallout, the slow rebuild. Told him his sacrifice wasn't wasted. That the life he saved was finally being lived. Next morning, I drove to the cemetery. The sky was pale gray. Flags snapped in the wind. I laid the letter on his grave. "Mission accomplished," I whispered. Driving home, Tommy slept in the back seat. Stephen followed behind us, headlights steady. Sunlight broke through the clouds. For the first time since coming home, I believed it. We were safe. We were whole. We were home. War takes things you never get back. But sometimes if you keep fighting, you win something better. Peace. Not the kind in treaties or parades. The quiet kind. The kind that looks like your son breathing easy in the back seat. The kind that sounds like nothing at all. DR. I came home from deployment to find my wife had faked my death, held a fake funeral, moved another man into my house, and spent my $400,000 life insurance payout. She's in prison now. My son's safe. We're finally living the life she tried to steal. War takes things you never get back. But sometimes, if you keep fighting, you win something better. Peace. Not the kind they write about in books or medals or parades. The quiet kind. The kind that sounds like your kid breathing steady in the back seat. The kind that doesn't need an audience to feel real. And for the first time since coming home, I knew we were finally completely alive. Would you forgive someone who made the world mourn you just to live without you?